And welcome to another episode of the 6 Minute Obsession. My name is Dr. Mark Kosman. I'm the co-founder of the Professional Practice Builder Society, and I'm here with the star of your show, attorney Robert Graff of GraffStandard.com. Rob, say hi.
Good morning, Dr. Mark. How are you?
Good morning. Hey, I'm caffeinated. I'm ready to go.
I am as well.
So and speaking of caffeine, we're talking about defining your stressors today, right? That's our topic?
That's correct. I hope caffeine's not your stressor, but
No, it's part of what I try to do to cure my stressors. Probably not the best strategy, and we'll talk about that.
yeah, we're always staying awake and we're always trying to get the most out of our time. I actually just give a little aside because my stressor is not having enough time, and that's funny.
Go
because,
figure.
yeah, exactly. But last night I got home. I was going to start work about 9:45 at night, and I said, I have a lot to do, but how effective am I going to be when I am exhausted? How much work can I actually get done when I'm exhausted? And that's something that's one of the stressors we have. How many more hours can you stay at work billing your hours when it's not going to be as productive? Are you going to have to rework the work you did before? Are you going to be able to bill for the time when you're correcting the less than stellar work that you did from before because you were too tired to complete that work? And how are those stressors affecting you where you're so focused on getting the work done that your quality is decreasing?
Right. So stress is an interesting topic. I mean, it's interesting to even try to figure out what is stress, because right, I mean, we're very weird creatures in a sense, right? Because we actually, much of what we do for entertainment is very stressful. We seek out things that are stressful, and stress itself really kind of is an engineering term, right? I mean, you put pressure on a beam, and you're stressing the beam and trying to figure out how strong it is, right? So I might go out this weekend and ride a roller coaster for kicks. The adrenaline's pumping. I mean, I'm really very stressed, but I'm defining that as fun. Whereas you're sitting there with the clock ticking, looking at your billable increments 6 minutes at a time, and you're feeling a different kind of pressure. I'm guessing it's not a lot of fun, right?
No, and that's an interesting point that you brought out, that adrenaline there, because stressors, we have the adrenaline. We have this. Well, let me go back. I wrote a blog. It was posted last week about the anabolic attorney, and can we use anabolic energy to be attorneys when we're in an adversarial system? And that's a part of stress, that adversarial system right there. We were built, our catabolic energy, our adrenaline, our cortisol was supposed to be used to escape from danger, to escape from tigers.
Right, exactly.
But when you're living that all the time, when you're living with that stress, with that catabolic energy, with the cortisol and adrenaline pumping all the time, that's when you start seeing those commercials on TV for the belly fat. So it's about shifting your view in order to live a more anabolic life. So you have the stressors, but they're not there causing your energy to produce this bad level of, I guess, hormones at that point. So how do you?
Listen, you're absolutely right, and it's so critical. I mean, as a psychologist, I used to do a lot of stress reduction work with people, and for those of you who want to geek out on stress and really understand what Rob's talking about, there's an author, Robert Sapolsky, who's like one of the leading researchers on stress and those hormone response, and he wrote a great book that's called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it's all about looking at the symptoms of stress that are really confusing to most people who live in the modern world. They're like, why am I getting irritable bowel? Why is my gut hurting? Why are all these things happening to me? Why am I having these anxiety symptoms? And when you look at it from his metaphor, or his analogy, I guess, not metaphor, of lions that are stalking zebras and the way the zebra responds, it's exactly what you're talking about. And suddenly all of your symptoms make sense. And you're like, oh, I get it. I'm sitting here worrying about time and billable hours and my job, but my brain literally acts as if a predator is about to eat me. That's what it comes down to.
And it's amazing because you said defining your stressors, and that's what we're supposed to be talking about, because each person has a different stressor.
Yeah.
Somebody could feel the stress of having to get the work done because a client's putting pressure. Another person could feel the stress of time because you have a deadline to meet, or you have to meet your quota for the month. You're going to be working longer hours the following month, or it's January and somebody said this to me yesterday. The worst time of an attorney's billable hours is January 1st, when the widget counter resets to 0.
It's got to be kind of demoralizing, right? It's like, I
Yeah.
just got there. Oh no, I got to start all over again.
Right, and that's kind of it's that feeling, and I think that's a feeling we all have. I mean, the widget counter, as I've said, it's like you're working in a factory. We're building widgets,
Mhm.
we're building
Yeah.
hours.
Yep.
So, how do you define your stressor? Is it something that is based on the time? Because we always see the people walking around work where time doesn't seem to bother them, or you see them in life. How
Right.
how is time not bothering them? How is money not bothering them? So, what is your stressor?
Hmm.
And it's if your stressor is time, and that's a lot of us as attorneys. That's why we're here with the 6 minute obsession. You're taking that time, that stressor of time. So what's your relationship with time? And
Yeah.
answering that question is a major part because you're not managing it. You're dealing with that relationship with time.
Yeah. Now, and you and I have talked about this a lot, and I think it just kind of bears repeating you and looking at it from different perspectives. But the thing is, we get so confused by time because that's the ticking thing that's making me sort of think that's the stressor. But of course, time is just a container, right? It's like having a box.
Right.
If I try to manage the box, I'm really confused. I'm going to be really frustrated. All I can do is manage what fits inside that box. If an hour is a box, then I've got to rearrange the priorities of what fits inside that container. The container's the distraction. I mean, if I think that's the problem, again, unless we're going to, as we joked about, start the revolution and change the way the legal profession works and get rid of billable hours, but that's not going to happen. So containers are just there. The clock is just a measuring device, and we got to get our brain to shift out of trying to manage the clock. That's just not reality. Reality is manage the activities, the priorities, so I'm doing the right thing at the right time, right?
Exactly. And when I'm going back, and hopefully this video still exists or has existed. When I was studying for the bar exam, it was one of the last videos, and it was administrative law, I believe. And the speaker for administrative law was saying, "Don't you wish you could just unzip your head a little bit and release that pressure of
Yeah.
all the knowledge that you've been getting over these past couple months?" And I know that many hopeful attorneys or they've just graduated law school and are now studying for the bar will see this and feel this feeling right at the end of the summer or right in the middle of the summer, end of July, when they're taking the bar exam, that their head is so full of knowledge. So is that the stressor? And how are you dealing with it? How do you define what your stressor is? I mean, somebody could say I'm stressed by time, but that's not as stressful as the fact that I have to go home and mow the lawn afterwards. So my home life could be my stressor and work is the relief. Now, I
Right.
hope that isn't for everybody, but um, it's really once you define that and define what's really stressing you, you can relate to it and you can actually interact with it and separate it from who you are and make it easier for you to deal with that time and that stressor. And you have that choice to deal with it.
So, Rob, tell me if this plays out and rings as true to the legal situation and the person who's dealing with the billable increments that you were talking about. But I know for myself, one of the things that really gets me off track and gets me into that stress mode is the fact that I haven't really taken the time to map out the priorities. And so I have this nagging sense that I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm not necessarily doing the most important work at the right time. I'm not confident that I'm doing the right thing at the right time, and I feel like I don't have time to take the time to prioritize. Does this kind of fit the scenario of what we're talking about here as well?
Exactly. It's about defining your allocators. How do you allocate time? And that's an important thing. If you're living in such a world where time is so important, then you have to allocate your time and block time. And that's
Hmm.
hard for people. It's hard for me. It's hard for friends that I talk to. Just doing simple things. I know for myself, I used to put Post-its on the wall with things that I needed to get done. And when they were done, I would rip the Post-it off the wall and have a visual allocator of time, knowing what my priority was, what I needed to get done first. So it was really trying to, and it was really, that was defining what I needed to do. It was defining my stressor. And obviously the thing that is most important is the thing that needs to get done first. So what is that stressor? What is the thing that's weighing on me that I can't release? And
Right.
a lot of times it gets bigger than just saying I need to block my time. If we could just say, oh, I can block my time, everyone would be doing it. If
Right.
this was such an easy thing to do, everyone would be doing it. So what is our blocks? What is blocking us from being able to not only allocate our time and use that as an easy way to beat this stressor, but also what's blocking us from actually using that? and actually once you get it done, following through with it.
So Rob, if you were sitting here one-on-one with your colleague who is really kind of in this moment here, can you give this colleague watching right now just a practical tip here that to help them maybe redefine that stressor or make a shift in this moment? I mean, in the next billable increment, what can they do to kind of turn a corner and kind of get through this day a little bit better?
It's really recognizing what that stressor is and defining what that stressor is, and then separating it from who you are, and then making the choice. Do you control it, or does it control you?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd ask that person to be held accountable in some way. Hey, contact me when that stressor comes up. What did you choose to do?
Right.
How did you respond to it?
Yeah, and choice, such a big thing there. Well, listen, we're running up here on the end of our 0.2 billable hours here that we promised to keep ourselves within. So I want to encourage people to come back and join us for the next episode. All the episodes are available at graffstandard.com, where Rob likes to hang out in his virtual world. So you can contact Rob there. He's available for a free consultation for you if you want to chat how this applies to you personally. But you can also subscribe to the show when you watch any episode. At the bottom, there's a box there, so sign up so you don't miss out on this. We're going to keep, in 6-minute increments, helping you get some pain relief for the legal profession in our show here, the 6-Minute Obsession. So join us next week for the next episode.
Have a good one.